Hey guys, Elizabeth Giddens here. I'm recording myself to present my Chapter 1 idea for a dissertation. My topic is competency-based education, which is also referred to as CBE. And CBE is a form of education that is separate from the traditional credit hour. It is education built around competencies or outcomes, not time. Traditional education is tied to the credit hour, and the credit hour is tied to time based on Carnegie units. Carnegie units was a measure created in the late 19th century to assign a worth or a value to a student's course load. The standard Carnegie unit is defined as 120 hours of contact time with an instructor, which translates into 1 hour of instruction on a particular subject per day, 5 days a week for 24 weeks annually. So that of course varies by semester in the term period, but that is the amount of time you are supposed to engage with instructor for 1 credit hour. In today's fast-paced world, though, that standard of measurement is very outdated. So CBE is different from traditional education in that when students have learned what they are supposed to, they don't have to wait until the end of a semester for completion. Instead, they can move on to the next module. So because of this, CBE promises to solve a lot of higher education's most pressing issues today. Critics of higher education today say that colleges and universities have low graduation rates, aren't serving students well outside the ages of 18 through 24, they're too expensive, and they're not well aligned to job market needs. So CBE seeks to solve these problems through intentionally designed curriculum based on competencies aligned to the needs of the job market. Students can essentially take competency tests to prove that they know the material and then move on. The idea behind CBE is that students will be able to work on their own and graduate quicker. Because of this speed, tuition costs would also go down. Because of its flexibility, CBE also seeks to open the gates to higher education for more students besides those outside of the traditional 18 through 24 population, thus making higher education more accessible and equitable as well. Despite the promises of CBE to resolve these issues that higher education faces, it lacks a lot of research. Yet, despite it lacking research, already there's tons of huge investments have already been made into it. So for example, the federal government is working to come up with a plan for how to provide financial aid to these programs. As I'm sure you guys know, financial aid is tied to the credit hours that a student is taking, but if CBE isn't using a credit hour, then the financial aid system is kind of, it needs to adjust. So therefore, in my Chapter 1, I summarized the literature currently available in CBE and identified 3 gaps in those literature. So let's first talk about the first gap. So CBE has actually been done before, so this might be new to you, but it's not new. It does have, it's been done several times before throughout history. So my first research question is I want to research why it has failed in the past and then compare the reasons it failed to standards by a new organization called the Competency-Based Education Network. This organization has released standards for CBE programs to follow. So I want to see if the new standards that they've released will help schools to avoid the failures that have happened before. I plan on using a rubric to do this comparison. For my second research question, I want to interview people who work at CBE schools and design these CBE tests that students are supposed to take. I'm interested in the reliability and validity of these tests. After all, if students are going to be able to take tests or project-based assessments and then just get a degree, they should be valid and of high quality so an institution doesn't just become a diploma mill. And finally, I want to analyze the graduation rates of these CBE programs. Thus, I plan on doing a comparison of graduates from traditional institutions and graduates from CBE institutions to see, 1, whether their graduation rates are higher, and 2, the diversity of the students that they graduate, because CBE says that it opens the access, it opens up the gates to higher ed. So I plan on getting my data from the National Center for Education Statistics IPED Center. Much of the data that I've looked at so far is categorical, so I plan on using a chi-square analysis to answer this research question. These 3 research questions, which I've come up with through the gaps in the literature, they're directed by 3 theories: Lewin's 3-stage theory of change and force field analysis, Biggs' constructive alignment theory, and Christensen's theory of disruptive innovation. They're also tied together through one conceptual framework. And through these research questions, I hope to determine whether CBE will have vitality in American higher education today. My justification for this study is, like I said before, there are so many investments already happening in CBE outside of higher education, outside of financial aid too. Lots of institutions are changing their programs over to CBE. So I hope this research will provide valuable information to those working in competency-based education so they may adjust their programs for better chances of vitality. So please make comments about what you think of my Chapter 1 research proposal, and let me know how you think that I could design it better, or any sort of things that I'm not thinking about. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.